Hey guys, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer. Thought I'd make a quick video just doing my typical off-the-cuff discussions. This one to do with dating and dating apps. Thought I'd make the most of this glorious sunshine at the moment here in the UK. It's about 24, 23 degrees, and trying out my tripod for the first time, so that's feel quite weird to sit here with the cameras all the way back now rather than in front of me, but still getting used to all this. But anyway, so yeah, just my thoughts on dating. I mean, I'll preface this by saying, as far as looking to actually date, like seriously, I'm not at the moment. Big reason for this is I'm currently still not working, so I want to try and get my finances in order. That's one. But also, over the years, especially the last, I would say, 2 or 3, I've become a lot more nonchalant about it, and I'll get into that more in a minute. But I'm just endlessly fascinated by the conversation between, men and women, and how they're struggling to find dates, to find partners, or for whatever in this day and age. And yet, we have the advent of technology on our fingertips. I mean, it's never been easier to connect and meet people, and yet we still feel more estranged and ultimately disconnected as ever. Yeah, with dating, I've been on the apps now for coming up for 7 years, and I'm only on about 2 or 3 at the moment. I was on about 5 or 6, so I mainly just use Bumble and Tinder. I've been on Match and OkCupid and Plenty of Fish and a few of the others, but it really gets me with this whole the amount of money they're trying to extract from you, especially men. Let's be real, it is men that pay for the arse for these things on there. And I very much got caught into the trap of paying out for these premium features. I couldn't even tell you how many hundreds of pounds I've spent over the years, but I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that for a long while, and I don't miss it at all. I'm glad I haven't done it. But it just makes me laugh because with Bumble, for example, there was quite. I think there was news a while back that they were tanking in terms of their profits. And I think the same with Tinder. So what's their brainiac way of getting out of it? Oh, try charging even more to use the premium features. Like every feature you use in it, they want to try and charge you for it. And it's just like, people are like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. Now, if you're a man watching this and you're single or you've been on the dating apps, if you're one of the 90%, I want to say bottom 80% of that, but if you're one of basically the guys like me, you're pretty much invisible on there. It doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how much you cultivate your profile, you're just not getting any matches or even hardly any likes. If you're one of those guys out there, you'll know and you'll probably relate to what I'm saying on this. If you're a guy that cleans up in there, or you're probably going to be like, whatever, I don't have those problems. But for a lot of men out there, this really does affect us. I've got female friends, and I've said to them before, even ones that are dating or not dating, or have been on the apps or not, I say to them, your experiences are so vastly different from mine. It really is just polar opposites between men and women on the dating apps. Because women, no matter how, even the most, I'm not going to be horrible, but let's just say below average looking, okay, they're still going to get a certain amount of likes and matches. Now, of course, we can say, well, there are guys that are just perving, sending dick pics, stuff like this. We know all this, but there are also guys like myself that are actually looking to meet someone, and they'll just never get a chance because, let's be real, guys, if the script was flipped and you or I were getting hundreds, if not thousands, of likes a week, a month, that massive overwhelm would affect us too. But obviously, we don't have that. I certainly don't have that. I mean, to put it into perspective, I'm not really actively looking, but I'm still on the apps. And the last time I went on a coffee date or any date was 2 years ago, almost to this month. I don't think I've had even. I don't even think I've had several matches in probably the last year. I couldn't even tell you when I had the last like. Probably had a handful this year. That's it. And sometimes I say this to people, and they're like, "Oh, as if you must surely get," especially women. They'll say, "Surely you must get a handful of likes on matches," and I'm like, no, it just doesn't work out like that. Now, part of it is geographical. I do believe this, that where you live plays a massive part, and I'm not going to give away where I live, but let's just say the dating pool is somewhat stagnant and very redundant, and you see the same few faces all the time. And I personally don't have a problem with looking to date, say, plus 20 miles. I think I have my search at around 25. I'm even prepared to look further than that. I mean, I'm not bothered with long distance dating. In fact, in some ways for me it would be easier, because I'm someone that very much likes my own space. I'm very independent, so I don't want to be in someone's pocket or have them in mine 24/7 and be texting and meeting up every day. That's not me. That's never going to work. I want someone to have their own individual space and want to come together and socialise and do all that stuff. But that's for me. So for me, dating someone a bit further afield actually is, and I've done that before. I have dated someone a bit further afield. That would in some ways be ideal. But anyway, it's beside the point. So, as I said at the start, I'm not proactively looking at the moment, partly because, again, I want to get my money together and at least get sorted out with work first. Ideally as well, I want to get my driving licence out of the way, because I failed my test. It was in my last video, and my next one is due in, I think it's August, but I'm trying to get it bumped up as soon as possible using the apps. It is just an absolute shit show out there. I mean, I'm a pretty positive person, and to be honest, I look at it now with I've got quite a dry sense of humour. And if I had one piece of advice to give to guys, if you're a guy out there watching this and you're really just jaded as hell, and it's starting to depress you and you're starting to have a real bleak outlook, and even if you're starting to get really cynical and kind of combative towards women, if that's what you're looking for, my advice is don't. There's all this red pill stuff online, and I've watched a lot of it. I've watched stuff on YouTube that talks about this, and while I understand and agree with some of the things expressed in there, there's also a lot of bitter and angry men and lonely men and frustrated that are on there just bad-mouthing women left, right and centre and just generalising them. And the thing is, I've been there and done it. I've done it myself. I'm not a hypocrite, because it's hard for the average woman to understand what it's like being an average man on a dating app, and sometimes going months, if not years, without even so much as a like. I mean, it's just, I had a friend of mine, she was, I think she's average looking. She's not ugly, but she's overweight. But I remember she said to me once, she was on Plenty of Fish, or I think she was on one or two of the others, and she got like 50 likes in less than a week on just one app. I think it was Plenty of Fish. And I said to her at that time, I don't think I've had 50 likes in the last 2 or 3 years. Like, that's not even an exaggeration. Again, it's just starkly different for men and women on there. But I just look at it now with a sense of, do you know what? If it happens and I meet someone, great. If I don't, there are worse things to befall you. Let's be real. As long as I've got my health and my basic needs are met, and I've got food and clothing and all that, they're really the essentials. And yes, I get it. There are some people that really want to find a partner. There are some people that want to get married, for example, or have a family. I don't want to do either of those, so that's great. So I get it. And the thing that women have against them is they do have that biological clock. So I see a lot of women. I mean, I'm 50, and my search range is 39 to 54, something like that. And I can't tell you the amount of women I've seen in their mid-40s and upwards that are literally, I want a family. Like, they've either got kids or they don't have kids, but they want kids or they want more kids. So it's pros and cons for both sides. As a man, I don't have to worry about that. Again, I don't want kids, but if I did, I could technically have kids well into my 70s or 80s if I wanted to. I don't want to get married. For me, I'd ideally like to meet someone just laid back and genuine on myself and just open to it. And that's something else, actually. If I give another tip, and this goes to any women watching as well, I was guilty of this before. When you go on an app, now I don't know what it's like for the men, because I don't look at men's profiles. I know that there's the stereotype of them having fish pictures and bad pictures and stuff like that, but let's be real. for us as men, we get women with ridiculously over the top filtered pictures. Usually, if I see a woman in every picture where she's clutching a wine bottle, or she's half drunk somewhere, or she's on a yacht, and every picture's like that, I tend to almost swipe left because I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. We're not going to be a match. But yeah, if I had to give a tip, and this goes to any gender watching, don't go on there being desperate. Don't go on there, even if your intentions are honourable and you really want to meet someone, you want to meet that person, that special person. If you go on there and you're just really kind of desperately coming across that I want to meet Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, whatever, the chances are you probably won't. I mean, they say dating apps is what 50%, I think, of the way that people meet nowadays. And I've been using dating sites and dating apps on and off in conjunction for well over 2 decades in total. And I've met a few good people on there, but I can tell you that this fairy tale ideal that you have in your head, I'm not saying that it can't ever happen, but my thing is, if you go in there and you're more relaxed about it and you just say that you're open to whatever, you know what I mean? You're open. Like for me, I put that I'm open to just meeting people. If I make friends out of it, great. If I don't, doesn't matter. If I meet someone and, you know, we have a date or two and it doesn't work out, that's fine. And if you meet someone and it turns out to be a long-term relationship, great. But I'm open to all of it. I don't close myself off to just saying, I want this and that's it. And I see too many women on there putting that they want this ideal fairy tale fantasy, this guy who's like this tall and this much money and blah, blah, blah. And you can have your wants, there's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to be realistic. You know, I feel if you go into it at least a bit more open-minded and just seeing how things are, if you relax your stance a bit, you might have a better time with it. That's how I've personally found it over the last 4 or 5 years. I used to be that person that went on there and would say, you know, I'd love to meet this person. I never had like a set ideal. I had to come inside to finish this off because my neighbours decided to come outside. I think, as I was saying, I think if you go in there with the idea of being more relaxed as possible and being open, then you've probably got, I would say, even more chance, but also you've got less chance of you becoming more disappointed, because I found that the more I went in with this kind of tunnel vision focus of, oh, I want this and I want to find this person who's this and that, when that invariably doesn't happen, it leaves you feeling really jaded and disappointed and thinking, oh, you know, this is a complete waste of time. Now, I got to be honest, there are necessary evil dating apps, especially in this day and age. On one hand, the few very short relationships that I had would not have come about if it wasn't for either dating apps or the internet, especially my first girlfriend at the time. But there is this obvious, very dark flip side where for women, they end up becoming completely overwhelmed and jaded because there's a lot of men on there that are just after one thing. There's obviously we have to worry about safety as well as men, but obviously it's more of a physical thing for women. You know, we could list the cons, pros and cons for men and women all day. We know what they are for men, obviously. So basically, no one's having a really great time of it. Only a minority of people. But I suppose there's no real substitute for meeting somebody in real life. And ideally, I'm sure I would certainly like to meet someone organically rather than having to use an app. Now, I am in a couple of meetup groups. I've mentioned Meetup before. I do sometimes come into contact with single women, but of course, the thing is, Meetup's not a dating site. And if I'm going out on walks and hikes and events, they're not like dating events, if you see what I mean. If anyone's on Meetup and everything, they'll understand what I'm saying. So, yes, in some ways, it's ideal that you're going to meet like-minded people, but they're not strictly out for, or sometimes even looking to date somebody. And so there's kind of that as well. Although I think realistically, if I was ever going to meet someone, it would probably be through some sort of activity like hiking or walking. At least I'd have that in common. So that'd be one good thing. So yeah, there isn't really a clear-cut answer to any of this or the dating crisis. This is just me offering my thoughts and maybe a couple of tips and pointers and what I think might help you out there and what's helped me. As I say, even me 5, 6 years ago, I was definitely a lot more very disgruntled and disheartened with the whole thing, and I just found it harder to deal with. But the more I've taken a more lax attitude about it over the years and become less bothered about it, it really does help a lot. And again, I think that applies to, male, female, whatever. It's supposed to be fun after all. But if I had one last piece of advice as well, I would say definitely cut down usage. If you're someone like me that used to spend every spare waking minute on dating apps, just like with social media, which I don't do, definitely cut it down. I'm not saying completely get rid of it, but maybe have 10 to 20 minutes of swiping, looking through the profiles, rather than maybe an hour or two. I think the average time they say is something like 2 or 3 hours a day. I think if I'm correct, I used to spend at least that. I used to spend a long time looking, and since I stopped doing that, since I restricted it, and since I stopped with all the premium crap as well, I've definitely found it to be certainly more. What's the word? For want of a better word, it's just more possible. It doesn't annoy me as much anymore. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. I would love to hear your comments. Are you somebody that's on the dating apps yourselves? Have you had much luck with them? Have you completely given up on them? Have you even got any dating horror stories or dating success stories? I'd love to hear anything like that in the comments. I do respond to every comment I get as a rule. So, I'd be interested to hear that. But apart from that, thanks for watching again, guys. Take care, and I will see you all in the next video.